Always remember, the opinion you follow should be your own. Just consider the things stated here to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online.
I got to talk. I got to tell what I feel. I got to talk about my life as I see it.
Hey, what's up, Mike?
Phil, good to be with you again on this beautiful week. And happy to see you.
So tell the people where you're at.
I am still down here in beautiful southern Baja, although I will tell you, the last couple days, it's been pretty warm. Yesterday, we got to 100 degrees, and today, I would say we're in the mid-90s anyway, so it's a bit of a little warm. I'm inside my truck right now with my AC going. Otherwise, I'd be sweating on you. But you know, and maybe the other reason I'm sweating so much is that we're in a 5-day-a-week Spanish class, which is only getting more difficult by the day. So I kind of was hoping that maybe it would get a little easier once I got into it, but yeah, no.
So what's making it more difficult? Is the vocabulary increasing or something, or what?
Yeah, they're making us do more speaking, which is obviously probably anybody and everybody's weakness when it comes to language. So, you know, so now our teacher every day is like, okay, we're going to talk about this new verb and then put it in a sentence, but use it with these other three things, and, you know, and then ask whoever's sitting next to you, you know, all about their day yesterday. And it's like, you know, you got to think about what words to use and what is yesterday and what tense we're supposed to be talking in. And yeah, so anyways, it's hard, but like I have said a million times, it's got to be done if you're going to spend as much time as I do in a Spanish speaking world. So that's what I'm working on.
Mike, are they keeping up with the presidential election in Mexico as far as
they
you
are?
know?
They are. So they definitely are. I've had geez. Hold on. Microphone just almost took a tumble. I've had the opportunity to, so where I'm located, which is unusual for my past years. Usually I'm down here and I'm on a beach in a fairly remote part of Baja on a dirt road. But because this class is in Todos Santos, which is a pretty populated, I wouldn't call it a city, but it's certainly a populated town. And it has a fair amount of gringo presence. So, although this is a little early in the season, there's not too many tourists here yet. But yeah, so there's a lot of interest in what's going on north of the border, and quite frankly, I think as overlanders, there's a lot of interest in this election just in general, probably everywhere, particularly with people that travel a lot, because as you know, our apprehensions or our fears are we don't know what the new administration, because think about it, we're going to get a new administration no matter what happens, right? Regardless of whether Kamala or Donald Trump, whichever one wins, it's kind of rare that this is happening actually this way, but it's you know, it's going to be a new administration, and we don't know what potential laws they could pass or policies that they could change. And obviously border control is a big issue. So if you're going to go over into another country, you're dealing with other borders. So, you know, I don't know. You know, so we're all there's a little apprehension, to be honest with you. On the side of the Mexicans, they are concerned. You know, they don't want this current the current situation that's going on with the border has not been, let's just say it's not good news, right? So it's negative news, which they don't like negativity from a standpoint of it just draws more, I think it draws more, probably not warranted necessarily, but it draws more attention to Mexico from people north of the border that look at it as, you know, it's just more problems that this country has, you know, so they get a negative connotation. But at the same time, they're fearful of what a new administration could bring, whether, you know, God forbid, let's say there was more border control in a way that was negative. I don't remember if you remember years back when they were doing what was the NAFTA. and all that. How does it work economically? Are they going to be damaged economically? Because obviously America has a ton of factories and whatnot down here, and let's say somebody comes in and closes the border or takes harsh action, maybe is a stronger word. So there's a lot of talk down here. We went out to the Todos Santos brewery the other night, and the politics was discussed. Let's just say that.
In my opinion, we are still being affected by NAFTA.
We are. Oh, we absolutely definitely are.
That was a major thing, and we're still getting the ripple effects from it. Yep. And there's been some positivity and there's been some negativity due to it, like you would expect from just about any kind of legislation. And we'll see where that goes. And I don't know. They both talk a good game when it comes to what their ideas are on Mexico, but I think everybody down here is a little skeptical. Well, I've been keeping up.
By the way, as is Canada. Not to interrupt, but as is so I'm in a class, my Spanish class right now. There's myself, Kevin, and Brenda, and then we have another woman that's in with us now who's from Canada. And Canada is not unlike Mexico, is obviously extremely tied to America. So the Canadians probably. So we had this interesting conversation. So I don't follow this as closely as you listeners out there might expect. Except for the fact that I have been following the news stories much, much closer because we've been talking about it here on the podcast. And next week, Phil and I are going to make our predictions on what we think is going to happen. So I've been paying a lot of attention to politics where I may have not paid as much attention in the past. But I will tell you, the Canadians, I swear, your average Canadian knows more about what's going on in the United States than Americans do. Fact.
It affects them faster than us.
Yeah. That could be true.
Well, I've been keeping up with the news too, Mike, and the thing that stuck out most to me as far as news about politics is there ain't really too much conversation about the actual issues. It's about how you did your interview, where you did your interview, and stuff like that. And I'm a person who I don't watch one side of the news. I watch everybody's side so I can figure out what the truth is.
Mm-hmm.
And what's amusing to me more than anything is how, okay, I'll watch the story. I know what's going on. Then I go listen to these commentators and I hear their twist on it and the way they manipulate the story, and it's just disgusting.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what's the word for it.
Well, I'll give you an example.
Cognitive dissonance.
Yeah, cognitive dissonance, exactly.
Because
or
like
selective hearing, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, because
spinning.
McDonald's. I want to talk about Trump going to McDonald's.
Yeah. There's two big things I want to talk about today. That's one of them.
And the reason why I want to bring it up is because the word that I can't seem to, it is cognitive dissonance, right? Cognitive dissonance.
I'm going to go with that.
Cognitive dissonance occurs when a person's behavior and beliefs do not complement each other or when they hold two contradictory beliefs. So yeah, it's cognitive dissonance. So anyway, with the Trump McDonald's thing, I'm an old man now, Mike, and my whole life, presidents, and not just presidents, people running for any office have always done a handful of things. They've went and interacted and worked at a place that they would never work at. Yep. They'll go sit at a restaurant and eat and talk to people. They'll go to a barber shop. They'll go into a talk show and they'll show you some skill or something about their personality that you normally wouldn't know. These are common things. Or like maybe there's a disaster. They'll be at the front of the line and they'll fill the bags for 15 minutes.
It's called retail politics.
But all of it is staged. There's Correct. No such. They're making this thing about Trump did this staged act, when in fact, you have not witnessed an act that was not staged by any president or anyone running for any office in your life. It's all staged. I've been a cameraman for a lot of stuff, and I'm telling you my professional opinion. There are no unstaged situations. But the way they're telling the story about Trump is like he's this sinister guy for doing something that over the decades I've seen done before many times, and it was praised.
See, let me just say one of the things about this McDonald's thing, and let's try to take a moment to try to be neutral. But the way that I see it, and I agree with you, everything is staged. Of course, it's staged. And for anybody thinking that Donald Trump could walk into a McDonald's, get hired, do his W-2 or whatever, walk in the back and start running the fry later. Man, here's a guy they've attempted to assassinate twice in the past, 2 months.
Three times.
Three times. And you have to have security. Okay, so obviously this can't work the way it normally does, right? I mean, that's just any intelligent person should be able to figure that out. But what I'm going to tell you is, I think it was actually a genius move for a couple reasons. First, obviously, he is somewhat trolling Harris because she claimed that she worked at McDonald's in the past, and whether she did or not, is really kind of a non-issue, to be honest. But it doesn't appear that maybe she did, but whatever. So he's trolling her a little bit. And by the way, she could have one-upped him. Like, she could have beaten him to the punch. She could have went and did it herself. She could have done any number of things. But here's the difference. He has told us for the last 8 years or more that he loves McDonald's, that he eats McDonald's, that he ordered all those McDonald's meals for the football team or whatever that came to the White House. He's had pictures of on his Air Force One eating McDonald's. So in a sense, this is real for him. This is real. He has a genuine love of McDonald's, right? And so this is not weird. Like, so he's not trying to sell bras at Victoria's Secret or something. He's doing fries at McDonald's. So it's in context to him. Number one. Number two, it was a photo op moment, right? So, and that's the idea. And here's the thing. Now, I know I'm going to get attacked. For saying this. And I almost, it's almost hard to say, but he is more relatable as a human being than Harris is, from a standpoint that here's a guy that we all know is a billionaire from New York, but he's shuffling fries behind a fry later. And I understand it's all staged, but the problem is that she didn't do it. And to be honest with you, I don't think she would pull it off very well. Right?
That was what I was waiting to say. Is the big issue is you can't just put her in a room of people in any kind of situation and she's going to be successful. She's socially awkward.
Yeah, and maybe that's what I'm trying to say. And he is, you could say, look, there's obviously lots of negative things and crazy things that he says and whatnot, but there's enough moments that you've seen where he is with his grandkid, or like we just said, doing fries at a McDonald's, or genuinely talking to somebody, asking them how they're doing. Like he's better with the people, I guess is the best way. I'll give you a contrast. Yesterday, when he was at McDonald's, I saw something posted with what's the musician, and they were and Harris and Lizzo were getting on a plane on a private jet. What's more relatable to you, Phil, a private jet or McDonald's?
Well, when you said you were worried about people attacking you, they're probably going to attack what I'm about to say.
Oh, boy.
So I'm kind of piggybacking on what you're saying. let me tell you how people I have talked to view them. They're both rich people,
Oh, for sure.
right?
Absolutely. Yes.
But one of them gives off, well, before, let me back up for a second. In general, middle class on down generally look at rich people as these weirdos
Mm-hmm.
in some kind of way.
Sure. Yep.
And they generally prove themselves to be weirdos,
Yep.
like Elon Musk.
Yep. Yeah, he's a weirdo.
So it's unusual when a rich person or someone who's been born in affluence goes and be around regular people. They're usually like uncomfortable, and you can see it even when they're trying.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's why when a Trump or a Bill Clinton or someone like that comes along, they really stand out because they're like, oh, he's up here, but he's real comfortable down here.
Mm-hmm.
Kamala Harris comes off as like the slave owner being forced to deal with the slaves.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, ew. She really looks like it's like, ew, I have to actually be around these people and deal with them. She's very uncomfortable. She
tense.
has a very
She's
high society type of, I don't really know how to explain it.
Which, by the way, you could expect from a high-powered attorney out of California that had jobs that she did, and obviously she's the vice president.
Okay, I'm not saying that. That's the normal that I could deal with. You grew up from something different. It's hard for you to relate to something. She comes off as like I'm the queen, and oh my God, I have to be around these peasants. That's what I'm saying. Like that's why I used the slave owner thing.
Mm-hmm.
She comes off as like, I'm this superior, I'm from breeding type thing, and it's disgusting to be around you people. She looks totally uncomfortable all the time. Trump walks in the barbershop. Hey, what's up, man? Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's true.
And guess what? I'm confident some of that is acting.
Sure.
But Trump has been doing that for decades. Trump has walked in. That's not his first time walking in a barbershop.
Remember, by the way, he did a commercial for McDonald's like 30 years ago or something.
But I'm addressing more like they're always trying to make it like a race thing.
Yeah.
And I'm making the point that amongst the people that she's supposed to be the most comfortable with, she looks appalled to be around them. Trump is around them, and it's like love.
Now, Phil, do you feel like that's one of the reasons or the reason that they hold her back, where she's done very little in the way of...
Yeah, that's why.
Okay.
Bro, it ain't like they needed to put her out there and find out. They already knew from when she was running for president. Oh, she ain't got it.
Interesting.
Most halfway decent politicians, do you remember what destroyed her? Was when Tulsi Gabbard mentioned about her record and everything.
Yeah.
Okay, people bust out politicians like that all the time, and they keep on trucking. She couldn't. It was like she couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
She couldn't handle one time somebody mentioning her record. So they knew way before now, and that's why I said it was a coup. Well, you said it was a coup. I believe that they always planned on having her run for president. And they went through the little whatever. They was waiting for him to make a mistake, and then they flipped it. I believe that was always the plan because they knew she couldn't just run. They couldn't just be like, Biden is sick or he ain't got it no more, and so we're going to go with the vice president. They couldn't just say that.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't stand on she doesn't really have a track record. She has a track record of, I worked here, I worked here, I worked here. Yeah. But she can't say I worked here and we made $10 million during the first quarter, or she has no accomplishments whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, unlike him, she doesn't have a business background for sure. And
let's just skip it to politics. She can't say when I was the district attorney and run off a list of accomplishments. She has no accomplishments. I don't care what she's nothing.
Okay, so
she's a nothing burger. That's what a nothing burger.
Okay, so this leads me into the second thing that I kind of wanted to talk about today, which is it's a two-parter. One is the surrogates. So I cannot remember an election that used as many surrogates for the campaigns in the history of the world. And when I say surrogates, we're talking big players. Okay. So that's one part of my thing. And then the second part is where do we go from here? We got less than 2 weeks to go. And to continue on our vibe of talking about Trump talking to people and relating and what they're going to both do, the big news, for us podcasters is they just announced moments ago, we're recording this here on a Tuesday, that Trump is going on the Joe Rogan podcast on Friday, which is the number one podcast in America. And for those of you that are not familiar with the Joe Rogan podcast, he generally is not super political, really. Most of his podcast does not revolve around politics. And two, he at one point was against Trump, and he tends to be on both sides. Like he's not really a one way or another kind of guy, but he has a very large listening audience of younger males, which Trump is arguably, if there was a challenge, he probably is more challenged with younger people. It was very similar to Harris going on the podcast she went on the other day,
Call Me Daddy or something.
Call Me Daddy, yeah. Which has probably the largest young female following in the United States. So you can see what they're doing.
Well, the funny thing is, they say Kamala Harris. They did some polling. They had those research people who watch it, and they tell you she did horribly.
Yeah,
everything she did horribly.
She doesn't. It's not her forte.
It goes back to what we said in the beginning. She doesn't have to be a 20, 30-year-old to relate to that lady, but she couldn't relate it with her on any level. It was a totally awkward thing, like the cool kid talking to the principal. It was really weird. Now, did you see when Trump did, I think the guy's name was Andrew Schultz.
Yep.
He was on the Andrew Schultz show. They didn't even have no questions. Right. They just was like letting it rip. They was cracking jokes. Yep. Trump is cracking jokes back.
Which, by the way, was the same the other day when Elon Musk, talking about the surrogates, when Elon Musk was on the podcast the other day with my brain is a little fried. I think I'm thinking in Spanish here. But they were cracking jokes too and talking about, if Harris wins, what happens to Elon Musk. But he brought up some good points on that. He was talking about, the Biden administration having that symposium or summit on electric vehicles, and Tesla was not invited. And GM at the time was, and he said, GM had produced 3,000 electric vehicles or something, and Tesla had put out 300,000 in the same time period. So why would they have not been invited?
I remember this. This is when Elon really actually hit my radar. I knew who he was, and I was like, oh, that's cool. He makes the cars and everything, but no big deal. Wasn't really following him like that. That was the incident that made me like, let me dig a little deeper, because that kind of pissed me off.
Right. But in what world would we have imagined that on any given day this week, you had Elon Musk on the campaign trail for Donald Trump, and Mark Cuban on the campaign trail for Kamala Harris. Like,
I think the Mark Cuban was the more shocking one because he used to be conservative.
I mean, I would say that he is still conservative. I just think that he doesn't like Trump. Never has. And, one of the reasons that he is involved and what they're using him is they're trying to portray that she is a fairly a moderate, that she's a fairly conservative financial moderate. Now they have some ammunition there because Trump obviously has greatly increased the deficit. He's not exactly been shy to spending money either. So I think both economists at this point have kind of said that both of them are not super great for our deficit, for one, in the United States. Neither one of their plans.
But the average American does not care about that, including me.
And I agree, because it doesn't really matter.
About how much does milk cost.
Yep.
That's all.
Yep. And so, on that vein of conversation, we have seen a shift in the last, let's call it 2 weeks, but I would say it maybe started about a month ago, that the election has gotten closer, and the shift. I mean, I don't know, unless you're looking at, because I wanted to bring this up about your skewed media, but unless you're looking at, I got MSNBC up here on my other computer screen, and it is incredible the difference between, if you look at their front page and the stories and the titles, and then let's just, for sake of argument, go to Fox News, which is on the other side, and you look at there. But like, Trump's McDonald photo op was as condescending as it was ironic. Okay, right? What else? I've never treated Trump as a patient, but his behavior worries me from afar. 2 former Pittsburgh Steelers joined Trump's team of toxic men. Like, these are all stories on the front page. You can't make this up. Trump pushes anti-trans lies about Olympic boxers on the Undertaker's podcast.
One that sticks out to me was fall toxic masculinity will spur Trump to victory. So they're basically saying any man who votes for Trump, we're a misogynist.
Yep. Yeah, I can keep going on. In North Carolina, Trump takes a chance pretending his FEMA lies are true. Elon Musk's pro-Trump scheme may have just run afoul of federal law. I mean, this is every story on the front page. So my point in bringing this up, and by the way, I can go to Fox News on the other side of that and get a legitimate skew. Probably not as bad.
They make fun of Harris just as much.
They do. But it's like, so anybody that actually goes to these sites to think that they're getting information, which, by the way, includes polls and feelings and predictions. I mean, I wouldn't listen to any of this. So I'm going to tell you, when we make our prediction for you guys here on the podcast next week, very little of what I'm going to predict is going to be based on these articles that I'm reading here on MSNBC or Fox News, because those are just articles that people that already are watching that news program want to hear. I mean, you're just repeating what you want to hear.
And I want to address the naive people, because I've heard this many times. Well, it's no way they could put that on the news if it wasn't true.
Yeah, bullshit.
They'd get sued. Well, I hate to tell people this, but Fox, the channel that we were just talking about, actually won. It's maybe 5 years ago. They won a court case, and the court case basically states that a news organization can lie. So get that out your head.
Okay, so now to be fair, I'm on Fox News. Top story: unearthed posts expose close ties between Harris confidant and top executive at CCP Group. VP Harris makes move on campaign trail that could backfire in critical swing state. Nearly 55,000 registered Democrats in a swing state changed their party affiliation, data shows.
And you know what else is funny about that, Mike? I read all of this stuff, and then I'll talk to people, and they're like, he watches Fox. He watches NBC. And that's the problem that I have as far as the people. You should be able to go to any news channel and get fair news. But since that's not the case, it bothers me when people want to argue with me, and it's like, nah, man, you can't just listen to Fox. You can't just listen to CNN and have a succinct argument with me.
Right. Because all you're doing is shooting out their talking points.
Mm-hmm.
Voter asked Trump a question that has tripped up VP Harris. He quickly fires off an answer. Odds stacked against Harris and Waltz in another competition, and it's not the election. So, I mean, I can go on and on and on and on, but my point here is that I think this election is unique in a sense that with all of these surrogates out there, and how do we feel about that? So, because I've seen everybody from, like we said, Mark Cuban and Elon Musk down to football players, to musicians, to
I think there should be an FCC rule, and I'm not joking when I say this, Mike. There needs to be an FCC rule stating that, like how on ESPN, when the guy who played for the Patriots is on there talking, and right below it, it'll be like 4-time Super Bowl champion, 3-time All-Star. They give all his accolades or whatever.
Yep.
When they do the news and you're on the mic, they have to have right up under there, paid $20,000 to be here today. Got another $15,000 from Harris or Trump or whatever, and it just really lists.
That's a good point.
And that would change.
What about Elon Musk giving away $1 million a day to people that are voting?
I can't defend him, bro. It's illegal. The only thing I can say is I think people know he ain't about to give $1 million to everybody. He was saying it in just to make a point. So I'm 50-50 on it. He shouldn't have said it. It is an illegal thing, but an adult realizes in the context of what he was saying. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. So I don't know where we go from here. We're obviously going to talk about this next week's podcast. We're going to give you Mike and Phil's prediction on what we think is going to happen at the election. We'll have to talk about this, Phil. We could talk about that later because next week we record on Tuesday, so that will give us exactly 7 days prior to the election. Then we'll have to talk about what day we do the podcast in election week. We might have to make some changes or when it goes out or something. Maybe we'll even do it live or close to live. I don't know. We'll see.
I was going to put you on the spot, Mike, but you did it yourself. I think we should do a actual live multi-hour podcast.
Yeah, we could do that.
Let's talk about it offline.
Yeah, we'll talk about that offline. But so that's kind of what's going on in our political world. And as you guys know, this podcast is not all about politics, but nor is Joe Rogan's. And but he's going to have Trump on. I can't wait to hear that. I cannot wait to hear that interview.
Little piece of trivia about this. Harris has been negotiating with Rogan for the past 3 weeks to be on his show.
That's what I heard.
And Trump just, okay, I'm going to be on the show.
Right.
So I don't know for a fact, but my assumption would be the reason why it's taken Harris so long to be on the show is because they need a teleprompter. They got to get him to agree to rules and regulation.
Yeah, I think so
That's
too.
The problem.
I agree. She couldn't, Phil, I bet you if we asked the two of them, I bet you if we were big, we'd get Trump on. We couldn't get Harris on our podcast because and everybody that listens to us knows this, we just shoot the shit randomly. So anybody that's going to come on here, we're just going to have a conversation and we're not necessarily going to ask questions. We're just going to chat. And I don't, that's not her thing. Now,
And it would be unusual for.
That does not mean she's not the better candidate, or that she shouldn't be elected, or that she's not a legitimate person that could run the country. That means that that's not what she's good at. So don't take this the wrong way from me saying that. It's not. I'm not dissing her. She's just. Look, I like to be honest. She's crappy at ad-libbing.
So I have a question for you, Mike. Just what you said, if you were to make it a percentage thing out of 100% to make a complete great president, what percentage of a great president is that talent? Because I think, let me shut up.
I mean, I think the three things that probably are the most important to being a president is one, you have to be a good communicator, like a linguist, a communicator, number one. Number two, I think you have to have strong commitment to what you are trying to get done and believe in, and not wishy-washy around. You've got to be able to unite. So, having said those three things, I'm not sure either one of the two candidates has all of that bucket. But
okay, so let's say that that's accurate, that they both don't all have it. Which one has more of it? That ain't no hard question, bro.
Well, I mean, I think Trump.
The point that I'm trying to get to, Mike, is that you were being really polite about the skills that she lacks, but when you really look at it and don't look at it in a vacuum, those skills in the world may not be that important. But for that particular job, that's like a third of what you need to be able to do. Be able to talk off the cuff, be able to handle an impromptu situation, be able to orate your thoughts, and be able to get along with people. Yeah.
You've got to be a CEO. You've got to be the person in the room that is in control. And that, I'll give you to Trump.
And she's a person, as soon as she starts talking, male or female, they interrupt her. She does not command a room whatsoever. And before I go any further, I want to make it clear for both of us. Me and Mike talk in reverence about a lot of females. So this is not a male-female thing. My mom could run this country. This is not a thing where I'm saying something negative about women. It's me saying something negative about a person that happens to be a woman. And I think you're in agreement with that, Mike?
I would totally agree. Yeah, I don't really care whether the candidate is a woman, male. None of that matters. At the end of the day, they have to be the CEO. They have to get the job done. So we talk about surrogates. Well, shit. I mean, Mark Cuban, here, let's use him as a good example. He could run the country. I firmly believe that Mark Cuban could run America. He commands the control of the room when he's in it. He is well-spoken. I think when he believes something, he goes after it. And he's run multiple successful businesses over the course of his career. I think his advantage over Trump is that he doesn't tweet idiotic things. And I don't ever envision Mark Cuban saying that, they're eating the dogs or they're eating the cats. So he's smoother than Trump. But one could argue that maybe that means he's lacking some of the charisma that Trump has. And charisma is a weird word because, a lot of people think charisma is positive. But in reality, charisma is a thing. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's positive or negative. And Trump has a lot of it.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. No doubt. No doubt. You made a good point. People connect positive adjectives to charisma, and charisma is simply your presence and how people perceive you.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I'd be careful with that one with Trump, because I mean, his downside. So I'll give you if I was Trump's campaign manager right today. Well, these are two things. I'll give you if I was Trump's campaign manager, and I'll give you if I was Harris's campaign manager. If I was Trump's campaign manager, I would tell him, stay calm for the next 2 weeks. Don't say anything overly, weird, as Tim Waltz would like to say. And, by the way, that includes whether Arnold Palmer's dick is big or not. Let's stay away from that. Random, right? And shake hands, literally shake hands and kiss babies as much as you can. And if you got to go back to Burger King, go to Burger King and do fries at Burger King, you could do that and go around and visit everybody. But like, that's what he should do, because my personal opinion now is 99% of the people have already made up their minds. There may be a few people, which, by the way, it might just take that few people to actually sway this. Maybe like, you know what? I don't know. Everybody says that he's a terrible human being, but he seems like he's looking cool right now. Maybe I'll vote for him. So that's what I would give Trump. Harris, I would tell Harris to lighten the load. And, she's getting negative feedback both from in and out of her party. Like, she's never had a press conference since she's been the nominee. Like, she needs to be more real. And by the way, that includes acting and being fake. Like,
she is being real, Mike. She can't answer questions, so she ain't. That's as real as it gets.
As bad as you're saying, we're in big trouble here. But
Mike, I mean, it's just obvious, Mike. I'm seeing her body language. I'm seeing her responses to stuff. This is not her thing.
But in her defense,
I can tell you when she shines anytime, like in a prosecutorial role, or like when she's in
the debate.
Well, not even a true debate. It has to be something like Congress, where she gets her 2 minutes uninterrupted. Yep. When she has to interact.
That was a debate. She did pretty good in the debate because she got her 2 minutes. And
I'll give you that.
And I think we discussed this. She won the debate. Like, that's the bottom line.
But it was not a normal debate. That's my point.
Not. It was not.
And if it was a normal debate, and there were people clapping and booing, and you could interject and all of that, she would have looked horrible, because I've seen her.
See, the difference between her and him is that he feeds off of an audience where she hides from it.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
That's significant. So,
yes.
But if I was taking over her campaign today, I would tell her, look, over the last month, you're losing ground. You're going in the wrong direction. And I would argue has a lot less to do with her going in the wrong direction, but Trump stepping it up. Because I think Trump was told after he lost that debate, like, dude, you gotta step it up here, because you're a mess. She came on, she's a newbie, she's on the scene for a couple weeks, and she's running over your ass. And I think he got the message. And I think he, from what it seems like to me, he got rid of that woman that was following him around. That was the conspiracy woman. And I don't know if they threw her off the side of the plane or what happened to her. But
who are you talking about?
Well, she was the one that I think brought up the whole things about the dogs and the cats in the first place, and told Vance about it.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what I would do. I think she needs to make So Trump beats her to McDonald's. Trump beats her to Joe Rogan.
She can't go to Rogan now.
And that's my thing is, so Trump, if Trump keeps beating her to the punches of these, because look about it, like, think about this. Joe Rogan has so many followers. People listen to Joe Rogan religiously. It's kind of like us, Phil. People listen to us so religiously, they're going to do exactly what we tell them to do, right? Probably not.
But Mike, with the Joe Rogan thing, Joe Rogan is not just a podcaster.
No.
Joe Rogan
is famous.
He is like an emblem to younger men.
Mm-hmm.
He's like a masculine emblem.
Mm-hmm.
He is like a symbol of masculinity to a lot of younger men.
Sure.
So if he says something a lot of people follow it because they're like, oh, I want to be a man.
Right. Yeah.
And the reason why I say she can't, you were talking about he beat her to the punch. He's going to always beat her to the punch because she can't go do these things. And if she does them first, he can come back after her because he can come back and he'll do better than her. So let's say she had done the Rogan podcast first. It would have been like a big stir about it. But the moment he comes on, you're going to see that contrast, that drastic contrast between the two. So she can't come before him and she can't come after him. She needs to keep doing separate, different venues that he doesn't do. So it's not that immediate contrast. Because imagine if she goes on Rogan now, it will just look like night and day, and they will be so close together, people will be able to compare them.
See, the fundamental difference between the two campaigns is that Trump, I think, is 100% in control of his campaign. And on the Democrat side, they are a very well-organized machine that has positions. And I don't know that Harris is necessarily in charge of the campaign.
She not.
Yeah, so I mean that's the difference. And they're almost running a picture perfect campaign, and we all know what the problem with picture perfect is. It's not loosey goosey enough to be effective quickly.
And so she doesn't have a seasoned team either. Did you watch the McDonald's thing?
I did.
Well, there were several interactions he had with assistants and different people and everything. And he was like, I don't remember her name, but he was like, yeah, she's been with me for 30 years. She'll do this and she'll do that. And he talked to somebody else. Yeah, but his team has been with him forever. Her team changes every 6 months because they can't stand working for her.
I've heard that.
No, this is a fact.
Yeah.
She has like, I don't know the exact figure, but it's at least 90% turnover.
Yep.
What the heck?
He's also obviously, because of his past CEO experience and past interaction stuff, he is more at home with, you heard him when he went into the restaurant. He greets everybody. He says hi to everybody, whether they're on the fry machine or whether they're the guy that owned the restaurant, the franchise. And then he introduced himself to some. He went around and I get it. It's on camera. I get all that. But he's very comfortable and very good at it, where he made sure he greeted everybody. And I don't know that. She's not wired that way, so she's got to have somebody probably tell her, like, okay, this is so and so, and he just can wing it better.
And if Harris had went to the McDonald's, she would have been trying to prove so much that I've been in a McDonald's before, that she would have missed the point. He came in and was like, I ain't ever been in a McDonald's. I ain't ever what? Right. Oh, you don't even touch the fries. That's something he actually said. He was oh, you don't even touch the fries. This is amazing. Yeah,
no idea, but it was authentic real. Because he eats McDonald's, right. And you know what I mean? Like that as much as, if you're a Democrat out there, and as much as you hate Trump, and I get it. You gotta recognize that I would say overall, contrary to what MSNBC is going to tell you, that was a winning move.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Bro, it's certain things that I've been on the earth long enough to have seen happen multiple times and see whether it works or not. And kissing babies, going to a restaurant or some kind of establishment and working in it for an hour or two, speaking on state of affairs and pretending like it's off the cuff, like they caught you off the airline.
All of those things, attending, natural disasters, and all these things all they continue on when you're in the job too. It's not just running for the job.
I agree with that.
You know what I mean?
Like, he's not the president. He's running for president. He hasn't been the president for years. When the hurricanes came and he went to visit it felt like the president was visiting, the way he was talking and the way people were interacting with him. Even government officials were interacting with him more in a presidential manner. When she came, it felt like a presidential aide that didn't want to be there came. The way she acted and the way people interacted with her, it was almost like, okay, would you finish this photo op stuff in this bag so we can move on?
I get
totally different vibes from them, man.
Yeah. One of the other things is and then hindsight's 2020, of course, but I think that she probably should have came out and distanced herself from Biden earlier than she did.
She can never wash away those first two interviews that they keep showing where she was like, I don't see a difference. I wouldn't change a thing.
Right. And then they figured out, whoa, boy, because they just did a poll, and I actually saw this on, I think, MSNBC. They did a poll that still says that 66%, which is 2/3 of Americans, do not think the country's going in the right direction. So you do not.
How could you think we're going in the right direction? Who is these 33% people? How are you thinking? How is that possible?
I don't know.
Even let's say your money is right. Everything going on with you is right. That don't mean, outside of your world, the world is fucked up right now. How can you not see it? My life is pretty good, bruh. A lot of the complaints I'm having, I'm not complaining because it's happening to me, but I can see it.
That's right. I just saw it a couple minutes ago. Let's see if I can pull that story up. It's on here somewhere. I saw that Denny's, which is a stalwart in the food industry nationwide, like particularly if you're in the South or there's just Denny's on every corner. They're closing, I think, 12% of their restaurants. And they are telling their franchisees now that they don't have to be open 24 hours a day anymore, as was always the thing with Denny's. Mm-hmm. So, that all of these things point to economics, right? That, and they were saying they're reducing their menu by 50%. Like, I think they're taking it from 90 items to 60 items or something like that. And they're finding that there's so many adults are coming in and ordering off the kids' menu. Why? Because it's $3 or whatever. So, does that tell you that money's tight? Yeah. We could see this. We talked about this at Overland Expo. Like, the vendors have told me that they are selling less products, and there's definitely their higher price ticket items are not moving as much as their lower price things. I went online, I think I mentioned this maybe, and I looked at the top 20 rooftop tents out there. I would tell you that 2/3, if not 3/4 of them, are on sale right now. And when I say on sale, I mean like half off. Mm-hmm. Now, would you sell your rooftop
still
tent
making
for half
money
price
off
if you
of it?
didn't have to?
No.
Right. That's right. So, I think that, and who used it the other day? The Reagan line, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? Somebody used that on the campaign trail the other day. The answer, I think, for most people is no.
You were mentioning that Denny's wasn't going to be opening as early and they'd be closing early. A lot of restaurants are doing that. And this goes back to the economy and COVID.
Correct.
People aren't going out like they used to. I remember when I was a youngster going out, you'd go to any city and go to the main street or wherever the clubs are, and it was literally like a festival was going on, just club after club and packed. That's not the case across the United States anymore. People are not going out as much. And part of it was because of the COVID. We've gotten conditioned into not doing it. But the other half is, it's like, if I went to go have drinks by myself, I need a couple of $100 in my pocket if I'm going to a nice club.
Yep.
Drink a decent drink at a decent club is like $15.
Yep, minimum. Yep. That's right.
Right. No special liquor, no top shelf liquor.
Right.
And then after you leave, well, I don't know how you was rolling, Mike, but when I was young and we'd go to the club, we didn't want to go home after the club. We want to go eat.
Denny's.
Right. Denny's used to be packed.
Absolutely.
So they've lost all of that club money too.
That's right. Yeah, I remember we used to go to Denny's at 1 o'clock in the morning, just about at least one day a weekend.
And you're like, I just spent all my money buying drinks. The only way I'm gonna get this piece of blah blah is to take it somewhere cheap to eat, because I can't afford to take it nowhere expensive to eat. I only got $5 in my pocket.
That's right. And that's for the both of us.
I'll get coffee.
Exactly. Yeah, you eat. I'll have some coffee. I got to get us home.
It's scary that you're saying that they're eating the kids' meals, because it's already cheap to go to Denny's.
Yep. Well, although it's not unlike what we were talking about with McDonald's. It's cheaper.
Yes.
It's expensive.
I agree with
really,
that.
when it comes down to it, it's expensive. But I would argue Denny's is cheaper than McDonald's even. But so there's your question. So all of you listeners out there, let's think about this. Are you better off than you were 4 years ago? And if you are, I want to hear about it. If you're not, then let's talk about how we solve that. And, because this is going to affect all of us, and then the last thing I want to leave you with is, how does this affect, we were just having this conversation about how does this affect us as travelers, being out of the country during this election? And what if something like, I'll give you the worst case, what I think is the worst case scenario that could happen. The worst case scenario next 2 weeks from now would be that we have a tie. And it could legitimately happen. There are like 3 scenarios that are within the realm of possibility where the 2 candidates could tie at 269 electoral votes.
Well, if that happens, Mike, I think there's something going on. Because
there will be something going on.
I was just reading that they already talking about Trump may have won this thing just from the 17 million people who have voted already. They have the largest amount of what do they call it when mail-in voters ever in history.
But I think that was from Georgia, right? So because I saw a couple stories where Georgia
was the biggest and the first. But that whole 17 million was not just from Georgia.
No, I don't. No. But I did hear an interesting number that Georgia was way up, and North Carolina said yesterday that they were down 40%, and Georgia. The other interesting thing I heard from Georgia was because normally in the past you would assume if the turnout is high that you generally would favor the Democrats. But I did hear that the turnout was high across the board in both red and blue counties. So it'll be interesting to see how that all pans out.
Now, I've heard all of those things that you said, but I've also heard that when there's this huge early turnout, it's negative toward the incumbent. And even though she's not considered the incumbent, she's kind of is the incumbent.
Sure. Yep.
Because people get up and they want to hurry up and vote against what they've had.
Yeah, change. They want change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean that's possible. So it'll be interesting to see. But like I said, the worst case scenario would be if you end up with a tie. I think because and then it's this convoluted process where the Congress, which by the way, it's not even the current Congress. It's the one that gets elected that is installed on January 4th or 5th or whatever. They would be the ones that would vote. And we don't even know what that is right now. So, so if you want to open up a can of worms where there is doubt in the election, there you go, King County there, yeah. Let's hope we don't have that because, I would fear riots, to say it mildly.
I was going to do a thing where I was going to open up my election ballot and go through the procedure and everything just for some content. But a legal expert that I'm very close to told me that that was illegal.
What, to show somebody how to vote?
If I were to video me writing on the ballot, that is a federal crime.
Well,
you cannot show yourself voting.
Interesting.
I forgot the words.
Yep.
So anybody who's thinking they're going to take their phone and go inside the booth and show themselves,
that I knew. Yeah, I know you can't do it in a polling station.
You're not supposed to video
Ever.
you doing the write-in ballots or the mail-in ballots either. I was actually shown the wording and everything.
So to give you some context,
cares for me, so I promise you, they know what they're talking about.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it. Well, next week we're not really talking about who we're voting for. We're talking about who we're predicting and what's going to happen in the election. Correct?
Yes. So
I already voted.
Oh, okay.
Mine went in. I voted. I'm in Montana, so I sent my absentee ballot in.
Okay. Well, I've got mine. We'll discuss what I do with it later. You already know what I'm doing with mine.
Phil's eating it for lunch. No. But I'm excited for next week to talk about this. And we're waiting till the last. We'll have to off recording here. We might have to discuss: do we record next Tuesday or do we record later than next Tuesday to get closer to the election? I don't know, but we'll decide. But you will hear our predictions next Friday. Next Friday, so the Friday before the Tuesday election day, you're going to hear what we have to say.
Yes, and maybe the week after we may have something else to say, and then after that we're back to our regularly scheduled programming. So
that's right. We hope.
But like we've mentioned several times, and it needs to be said again, is the only reason politics is a part of this particular podcast is you cannot have a intellectual conversation about any of the other things that we want to talk about and exclude it. That's my opinion.
I agree.
Mike, is there anything else you want to say?
Not till next week.
Okay. All right, guys, you know what I'm going to say. Stay safe, tread lightly, and hopefully we'll see you here or on the trail soon.
You have been listening to Waypoint Overland's Random Waypoints. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.